our keynote speaker this morning is Miss Jessie Leger. She lives in Mandeville. She has 5 children that they're known as the Fab Five. I love that. They began homeschooling back in the dark ages, before the internet, and probably 24, 25 years later now, huh? They've graduated all of their children and 3 nieces from their home. In 2011, Jessie joined the home classes team where she teaches history and government. When their oldest son was a junior in high school, she began serving with Teen Pact Leadership Schools. After serving 8 years, she stepped into the role of Louisiana State Coordinator in 2017. Teen Pact teaches students how the government works and why they should be involved as citizens, and is an integral part of the government classes she teaches. If you have high school students today, please have them go to the breakout sessions. Teen Pact is one of them, and introduce them. It's a fantastic organization. She is also Director of Legislative Affairs for Homeschool Louisiana, that you're automatically a member of if you join Chef. Little plug. They stay abreast of the bills in the legislature that pertain to home education and family issues. The Legers have developed relationships with many elected officials in Louisiana and will continue to meet with legislators to keep them informed and on track of the issues homeschool families care about. And they've done a fantastic job of that. So please welcome Miss Jessie Leger.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to set my timer because I have a lot of words, and I want to make sure to respect your time. Good morning. As Gretchen said, my name is Jessie Leger, and I do indeed wear all of those hats, and I get to wear those hats because everybody's gone. They all grew up and moved away. We do have the joy and delight of having our youngest back home for a season as he saves up to be able to launch into his dreams. He's in insurance right now with a dream of fashion design, so we'll see what the Lord does with that. It's so delightful to have a grown child back home. He's 24, and he's a different person than he was at 18. At 18, they're kind of, I don't know, busting at the walls to get out. And he's come home humbled and gentle and helpful. And I'm going to be devastated when the Lord moves him on. Joyful for him, sad for me. With everyone out of the house now, it's nice to have a little noise back in the house. So one of the things I did recently as well is I've been working with Teen Pact for years, and I think 15 years now. And this summer was hired part-time to be a field director, so another thing that I get to do with the ministry. I'll still be the state coordinator here in Louisiana, putting on an excellent class for your students. And we're not just for 8 to 12-year-olds, for teenagers, we also have a class for 8 to 12-year-olds, so be sure to stop by the table. Don't let the word teen terrify you if you have younger students. We have a program for them as well. And as a field director, I get to work with state coordinators across the nation and help set them up for success. We're in all 50 states, bringing excellent leadership training to students. As I think back on those early years, way back in the dark ages, literally dark, before the internet is when I started homeschooling. Like, it was a thing, but it wasn't something we had in our homes, and it certainly wasn't something we had in our pockets. That was just something I couldn't even fathom why I would possibly need the internet that I used a few minutes ago to update something and we use constantly. But as I think back at those early years of homeschooling our 5 young children, I remember waking up at about 5 a.m. and spending time in devotion with the Lord, and it was such sweet times. And about 6, The children would joyfully rise and come to the kitchen. We would have a delightful home-cooked breakfast with fresh farm eggs and sourdough bread that I had baked, and just such sweet times. We'd get our morning chores done, and then we would crack the books, and we'd dig into Latin, and my children wanted to learn German, and so we were doing that, and hands-on math, and delightful read-alouds. And before I knew it, my alarm would go off. It's 9 a.m. I'm behind again. I've overslept. I've hit the snooze 4 or 5 times. Reality sets in. We have another bowl of cold cereal. I'm trying to just get out the door because co-op starts in too soon. It's going to be here. I'm late again. I send a text. It'll be fine. We run on léger time. And that's the reality of homeschooling, the dream, the vision, what your friends are doing, what you think they're doing. It really doesn't matter. What has the Lord called you to do with your children that are in your home? We never did get to that Latin. They're all grown adults and functioning just fine. If that is something the Lord puts on your heart, more power to you. Enjoy it. It's delightful. It's wonderful, I'm sure. I just don't have any experience in that arena. I want to turn to the Word in the book of John, chapter 1, verse 16. This verse gets us through. I can actually read it. There's enough light up here. I might not need these guys. Praise the Lord. For from his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. He is the one that we are to depend on, not our curriculum, not our friends, on the Lord, and he will direct your paths. Grace upon grace. Grace is unmerited favor. We don't deserve it. I certainly don't. I'm so grateful for that grace upon grace. I always wanted to teach. When I was 5 years old, I remember lining up my stuffed animals and teaching them cursive on my little blackboard. They were very well-behaved students, but terrible at handwriting. And then my mom, bless her heart, gave me 5 younger students. It was wonderful. And so my favorite games when we were growing up was school, and I was the teacher, and house, and I was the mom, and I'm still playing those games all these years later. My siblings were not very willing students most of the time, but it was just something always that was on my heart to teach. At 10 years old, I remember going to a prayer meeting with my mother. I was the only child in the room. It was a little single-wide trailer somewhere near Lafayette, Louisiana. And there's a lady at the front of the room, and she's saying things I don't really understand, but she asked if anyone wants prayer, and that's free. I'll go get some of that. So I wander up to the front of the room, and she lays hands on me and prays for me and tells me that I'm going to teach. And I'm like, well, I already knew that. Thanks, lady, but okay. And that kind of just stayed with me. And so I continued on that path throughout high school, and I was going to be a kindergarten teacher. That was the goal. That was the dream, right? I'm going to go teach little people to read, and it's going to be wonderful. And then life, as it does, turns different directions, and instead I got pregnant, got married, did everything backwards, upside down, and that's okay. Then, but God, right? Those beautiful words in the Word and in most of our lives, probably all of our lives, we're heading in a direction, but God intervenes. And so I never did get to be in that classroom at the public school teaching kindergartners to read. Instead, the Lord had a much better plan, a much sweeter plan for me. I got to be in my home teaching the 5 most important people, aside from my husband, that I've ever met. When our oldest was in 2nd grade, he was entering, we decided we were gonna do this homeschool thing. We tried when he was in 1st grade, got some books from Walmart, and I I figured workbooks, and between the workbooks and some Cartoon Network, we kind of stumbled our way through first grade. Put him in our local Christian school here in Baton Rouge at the time for another year of first grade, because those Walmart workbooks didn't exactly cut it. When he was going into second grade, we decided, okay, we're going to do this homeschooling thing for real. We're going to go spend some money. We're going to go get some curriculum. And I didn't know anything other than, like, you only know what you know, right? So I drove to Pensacola, Florida with my mother and went to the well-known curriculum store that our local Christian school was using, and I bought all the things for second grade except the teacher's manuals, because if I could not figure out second grade math, I have no business teaching this child. And so I saved myself hundreds of dollars and came home with big dreams and big plans, and he and I commenced the complicated task of teaching this child. He already knew how to read. He could already add, subtract, not yet multiply. He was already writing pretty well because he's 7 years old, 8 years old. He's been around this for a minute. And there's 4 years between him and the next one. And so there's a 4-year-old, and there's a baby, and there's another baby on the way. And we're fighting every day because he does not know why he needs to multiply. She can't even count. She doesn't know her alphabet. And he was right. I forgot to teach her ABCs. She was 4. Oops. Put on some Sesame Street. She caught up real quick. It's fine. So we put him back in school at the same private Christian school for another year or so. And he was doing the same curriculum that we fought about and cried over and getting straight A's and not having a problem. So clearly, I was the problem. Clearly, homeschooling is not going to work for this child. I was like, okay, that's what it is, I guess, and we'll figure it out. And now my next child is ready to enter kindergarten, and we move, and another child is here. So now we have 5, and our oldest is in 4th grade, and we moved to Mandeville. Well, clearly I can't homeschool, and we already know that that's a failure. Probably I can do her. She eats workbooks for fun. Like anything you hand her, she's loving it. She learned her ABCs super quick, and then started reading. And by the time she was 5 and a half, I don't know how she learned how to read. I did not teach the child how to read. She's reading Junie B. Jones and writing her own little short stories at 5 and 6 years old. And so our son went to our local public school because the economy in Mandeville is just different than Baton Rouge was at the time. And it was about 5 times the cost for the tuition at the local private schools there compared to where we were here in Baton Rouge. And so it's like, that's not going to work. So we put him in public school for the ending of 4th grade. He started in April. About mid-May, my 10-year-old comes home and says to me, matter-of-factly, Mom, I'm not going to be able to stay a Christian if I stay at that school. I don't care if we got to go back to Walmart workbooks and Cartoon Network. Like, we are not doing this. Like, yoink, I will figure this thing out, because when your child tells you they're not going to stay a Christian if they're in an environment, nothing else matters. Academics, we'll figure that out. A relationship with the Lord, it is our job as your parents to introduce you to Him. You're coming home. So my husband had insisted we get this internet thing at our house. We're going to need it. I was very grateful for it at that point. So I get on and start puttering around. I don't even think Google was a thing yet. Maybe, I'm not sure. I probably was Ask Jeeves, or I don't even remember. It was a long time ago, y'all. I get on and I start looking up homeschool curriculum. And if you've ever typed in homeschool curriculum to a search engine, even 25 years ago, it was a lot of information. I knew I couldn't go back to that curriculum that we had been using because A, it's consumable. There's 5 of them. That's not going to work economically. B, we hated it. And so I was starting to learn maybe it wasn't me, maybe it was the books we were using. And we found a literature-based approach, which I absolutely loved and we had a fantastic time with. I was so grateful. We had a restart at that time. And I found a community there. Galatians chapter 6, verses 1 and 2 says, brothers, I think he's talking to sisters too. If anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. We are to bear one another. Bear one another's burdens. You need community. I sure needed community. I found some community online. There were some people in my church that were homeschooling, and they told me about this local support group, and they had a co-op. And what is I don't even know what that is, because I'm green. I'm brand new to homeschooling, probably like some of you. Co-op stands for cooperative. We're working together to teach our students. And so I got connected to our local co-op, to our local group, and I found a team and a group of friends that really became family, that helped bear my burdens, and I could help bear their burdens as we walked this thing out together. So how do you do this? Is this even legal? Sometimes we hear that question. Homeschooling is legal in all 50 states, and homeschooling has been legal in Louisiana for over 40 years. You'll choose your notification type. You can put the next slide up. I didn't even notice. There's my people. There's a bunch of them. So people say, how many kids do you have, Jesse? I'm like, well, that depends on how you count. I gave birth to 5. We adopted 1, so that brings us to 6. 4 of them got married, and so now we're up to 10. And our oldest gave us 3 grandchildren. So those are the younger ones standing in the front. And you can't forget Bennett down there at the bottom, my Labsky. I think she loves me more than the rest of them do. One of the things that makes me so proud of the decision that we made to homeschool our children is that now that they're all grown adults, they choose each other. They're still friends. I'm friends with my siblings, but it took a lot of work in our 20s and 30s to get to that point. They've always been one another's best friends and fiercest enemies. Those 3 younger boys tried to disassemble each other for the majority of their childhood, but it's okay. On the other end, they love each other. All right, so how do you do this homeschool thing? We have 2 options in Louisiana. That one's fine. It can sit up for a little while. You can be a non-public, not seeking state approval, and that option kind of sounds a little scary. It's very wordy. It just means you're making your own private school at your house. And guess what? You're in charge. You're the administrator. You are the teacher. You are the lunch lady and the bus driver. You're the school nurse and the custodian. You're all of it. And so sometimes we need to give information about our school to a third party, whether it's to a college or for a job or things like that. And parents will call the Department of Education and say, hey, can you send me records on my homeschool kid? And they're like, no, because we don't have any. Because in Louisiana, you're in charge of your children. The Lord has given you that responsibility, and the state has said, yep, that's your responsibility, parent. If you would like to send your child to us, then it becomes the department's responsibility. But if you're not, it's you. And so you make your nice little letterhead with your school name at the top, and you sign it at the bottom as the administrator, and you send off your official documents because you're official. And to be official, all it takes is a very quick, probably, I think finding the website and the spot on the website takes more time than filling out the form. If you go to Homeschool Louisiana's website, we have it linked for you right there in How to Homeschool, but it's a really quick form. You name your school. Our school was Joy Learning Center when we first started homeschooling again. And it stood for joy, is Jesus, others, and you. And that's the focus that I wanted our home to be. I wanted us to focus on the Lord. on other people and then take care of our needs. When my oldest got to high school, he's like, "Ma, you got to change the name of our school. It sounds like I graduated from a preschool." So we transitioned at that point and became Life Academy. Life, my husband said, stands for the Leger Institute for Excellence. I said it's learning is found everywhere. Doesn't really matter. The diplomas say Life Academy, and they're sitting on my shelf. Not one of them, until just a few months ago, none of my children have ever needed their diploma. My daughter just took a job in Chicago, and they wanted a copy of it, so I took a picture and sent her a copy of her diploma because it's legitimate. So that's the non-public option. You may see non-public seeking approval. That's not for us. That's for your local brick and mortar private school. Your Catholic schools or your local Christian schools or maybe a charter school would use that option. And the difference is they have to follow some state rules, like they need sprinkler systems and handicap access and things. You're in your house. You don't need that. So you use the non-public, not seeking approval. Some brick and mortars use that as well, but most of them choose the seeking option. The other alternative is home study, which we recommend waiting at least until 9th grade to start. You can wait until later, and there's some nuance I won't get into with that, but it's not necessary until high school. And what the home study option will do is it will allow the diploma you issue that you create on your computer or you can buy from Homeschool Legal Defense Association or different vendors and print out on the pretty paper from Office Depot so your students have a nice diploma that you can then put on your shelf for probably no one to ever see. That diploma is legitimate. It is recognized by the state of Louisiana for education, for employment, military use, anything like that. And so you want to make sure that your child has that diploma, and to get that, they must be home studied at least 12th grade. If you want tops, you need to do more than just that. And we can talk about that later. I don't want to get into the details. If you have high schoolers and you have those questions, come see me at the Homeschool Louisiana table. I'm happy to help. The next thing you want to do is research homeschool styles. Everything from traditional, which is probably what you grew up with textbooks and quizzes and lecture kind of based thing, to the other end of the spectrum where there's unschooling. I have tried almost all of it. The only one we didn't get to do is classical because it came to our community after we were already kind of established. I think I would have loved it. I know my daughter would have ate it up. My boys, on the other hand, had pencil allergies, I'm certain. There was wailing and gnashing of teeth anytime we had them write anything. I am eternally grateful to Andrew Pudawa for creating Institute for Excellence in Writing because it made my pencil-averse, writing-averse boys learn how to effectively write an essay, and now they can, even if they don't want to. They still can do it, and it was fairly painless. You'll find your curriculum. I recommend going to Kathy Duffy's website. It's Kathy with a C, Kathy Duffy Reviews. She has been in the homeschool world reviewing curriculum since 1984. She's got a little ebook for like $9 that teaches you how to choose homeschool curriculum, and there's a handy quiz in there that you can take to kind of see where on the spectrum you fall so that you don't end up like me thinking you are one way because it's all you've been exposed to, maybe it's all you knew, or surely this is going to work, and wasting 3 years of your life and your kid's life doing something miserable and even thinking that you're a failure at homeschooling. It's the curriculum, it's not you, I promise. Our middle child struggled with reading. He, boy, oh boy, that was sometimes. This child was solidly 8, still sounding out words like a 4 or 5-year-old. I wanted to lay hands on him because get it together, kid. And he just couldn't. The beautiful thing is he didn't know that he couldn't. He just kind of was one of those kind of oblivious little guys. I don't know. And so I had got a hold of the concept and read a lot. Dr. Raymond Moore wrote a book, Better Late Than Early, and said it's okay, probably by 12 he'll catch up. I know if this child was in school, he would have a whole alphabet soup of letters behind his name. He would have been medicated, all kinds of things that he didn't need, and he's fine now. He can read. He's 28. He's fine. By the time he was 10, 11, we went to the library, and I'm reading to him, but we're really not focusing on it a lot at home because it's just too painful for the both of us. So we do silent reading, and you go read your book. And I'm trying, y'all, but it's a struggle with this one. Math, numbers just make sense to him. So I'm like, okay, we're going to focus on your strength, and we're going to do that really, really well. And the reading, I guess, will catch up. And that's what Dr. Raymond Moore said in his book. And I'm like, okay, I'm just doing it. And I do some things here and there. We tried a little Orton Gillingham and different things like that. But it just wasn't clicking. And I was like, our relationship's not worth this. Lord, bring him a wife that can proofread his papers. I don't know. 'Cause this is not working. So he's about 10 or so. We go to the library to go get our stack of books for summer reading, and he wanders into the YA area, and I'm like, okay, homie, I'm not going to stop him if this is what you want to read. He comes back with this like 2-inch thick Star Wars book. Can I get this one, Mom? Sure, sweetheart. Absolutely. Last I checked, this kid's struggling with hop on pop. Like, what are we doing? Smile on my face. Absolutely. Let's get it. A little while later, he comes in and he's like, is this Tatooine? Is that what that word says? Yep, it sure does. Why don't you read a little to me? Y'all, read the whole thing, not a skip. Need a little help with Tatooine. Okay. Within maybe 3 months, he went from struggling with kindergarten level reading to reading on level and hasn't looked back since. He just needed a little more time to mature. I had another one struggling with math, and so he was in 4th grade, I think, and we got to long division, and it was like beating my head against a wall, and I'm thinking my relationship with the child is more important than long division. He does have a calculator. It is going to be okay. I stapled that section together in his little workbook, and we went on to geometry, and we had a great time. And because I was looking ahead, I pulled off the book that I had just finished with his older brother, and I made a little note. For more review, see this page, that he was going to get to in a few months. So we wrap up the school year, have a great summer, and it's probably, September, October of the next school year, and I turn the page, and I'm like, thinking, oh, Lord, here it is, that long division again. Bracing myself. And so I start to give him instructions and teach him how to do the problem step by step. And he's like, no, Mom, I got this. You got what? We had tears just a few months ago. Okay, buddy, show me. Y'all, the boy could long divide like it was nothing, like he'd been doing it his whole life, like he was made for long division. His brain needed 3 or 4 months, and then he got it. So when you hit those brick walls, don't be afraid. It is an individualized education. Take a break. Focus on something else and come back to it. You're not in a race. Your child is not behind. Your child has a behind. That's what they sit on. But they're not behind. They are where they are. And so I don't want to hear any of you saying, well, he should be where he is. He is where he is. She is where she is. And it's okay when your homeschooler gets that blank look on their face when the lady at the grocery store says, what grade are you going into, sweetheart? And they're like, because grades for us kind of don't matter. My middle child was at 8 years old on probably a 5th or 6th grade math level and a kindergarten reading level. What grade is the kid in? I just said 3rd to make his life easy because that's where 8-year-olds normally are. And we teach them where they are. Combine, diversify, as much as you can do together. We did Bible together, we did science together, we did history together, and math and reading was on their own levels, because that's the only way I could get through 5 people every single day. Every day. Those boys that had pencil allergies were doing biology in, second and third grade when they were 7 and 8 years old. I'll never forget my number 4. He's a plumber now because that boy has been working with his hands from day one. He comes running in the house one day and he's like, "Mom, I need a knife." "Why?" He says, "I got to dissect a frog." And so I remembered back to the day before when I had shown his 10th grade biology studying older brother a video online of a frog dissection, because this lady is terrified of frogs. If I don't have to smell it, have it in my house, that is a good day for me. And so I found a video that did it, and you could like point and click and do all the things. A virtual frog dissection, sign me up. Well, this little one thought that was the coolest thing. Had a great time. They played with it for hours. I got a lot done that day because they were dissecting frogs online. And then he found a real one. And so he needs this knife. I said, "Kate, is it dead?" "It is now." Lord have mercy. Okay, so homeschool mom win. Do I have a talk about we don't kill? Anyway, we had that talk, but I've got a dead frog, so we're not going to waste it. And I did have the frog dissection kit. I just never bought the frog, so I handed him that. "We're not using the kitchen knives, kiddo. Here's a scalpel." And so he had the whole neighborhood gathered around on my front porch dissecting a frog at 7 years old. I'm like, biology dissection, check. I don't ever have to do that again. But he did, because he found lots of other things too. I have a friend who had a farm. And so, as you know how it goes. Anyhow, hands-on learning at its finest. All right, how many of you guys have elementary age students or middle school students only? That's your oldest is in those grades. Okay. You may be thinking, what about high school? And I will say that is a problem for future you. Do not borrow problems from tomorrow. Philippians 4, let's turn there. Philippians 4, verse 4 through 9 says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. Do not be anxious about anything." Do not be anxious about high school. I was terrified of teenagers from the time I was one until my oldest turned 13. And then the Lord drops me in a ministry where I hang out with teenagers all the time, and I love them. They're my favorite people on the planet. High school is such a sweet and beautiful time. Your child has more freedom, there's more responsibility. And when you're planning for high school, loop them in. It is their life, after all. Give them ownership over their education. Help them discover what they would like to be. And if they've got big, audacious dreams, like my oldest, who was going to live in a van and travel the nation with his guitar and his name in lights because he was going to be a rock and roll star, it's like, let's go, baby. How are we going to make that happen? And so every Sunday after church, he had his band over and they wrote songs, and we would drive to the local teen club or wherever he could find a coffee shop to perform, doing all the things that we could think to do to help that dream come true. And he told me when he was about 13 years old, Mom, I just want to get paid to play this guitar. He's 34 now, and he's getting paid to play that guitar. He never did travel the nation in a van. His name never was in lights, because the Lord told me when he was only 19, I said, gosh, Lord, why isn't it happening for him? It seems like he's got the connections. He's doing and he said, I will not promote his name until he's promoting my name. Can I tell him? No, you cannot tell him. So I got to sit with that nugget for about a decade until my son was promoting the Lord's name. And so he's on the worship team at his church, making a little bit of money to play that guitar. I told him he should have asked the Lord. You got to be specific. Just some money paid, but he's a fantastic father and getting to do what he loves and staying home, right? Our middle wanted to be a psychologist, the boy who couldn't read. And so he traveled that path for a little while and then decided that wasn't for him. And now he's supporting his wife, and I hope they give me grandbabies soon. Just a delightful, delightful young man. Give your student ownership as much as possible. We learned that the hard way. We learned most things the hard way. I learned a long time ago, you can learn through revelation or tribulation. When you learn through revelation, it's watching someone else do something stupid and being like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Or the Lord leads you and you obey. That's another kind of revelation learning. Or tribulation, where you walk through the nonsense yourself and learn the hard way. That's me. That also happens to be most of my sons. They run right up to the cliff, and you're like, it's a cliff, it's a cliff. And as they're falling, they were like, you were right. Anyhow, with our oldest, when he graduated, I had micromanaged his life to such an efficient way that he didn't know what to do with his time if he wasn't scheduled to go to work or to be in a class. And so it's like, we're not doing that one again. And so with the younger four, I had a 4-year gap between the oldest and the next, so that was helpful. We really gave them a lot more autonomy when they got to high school over their schedule and over their time, so that they knew how to prioritize their time and make their own schedules. One of the things that I needed the most was support. And I think the same would probably be true of you as well. Even for my introvert friends, you need support. Nationally, you have support through Homeschool Legal Defense Association, who's watching the big picture nationwide. And I have more information about that at the desk. We've got Homeschool Louisiana, and on this slide, that QR code will take you to the link to register for Leadership Summit. If you are a leader in any capacity where you are helping homeschoolers, anywhere you're on the board or you're on a team with Chef or somewhere else in the homeschool community, or you aspire to be, the Leadership Summit is for you. So that's August 22nd in Pineville. It's going to be fantastic. Every year we also host a state conference that's going to be on March 12th and 13th in Hammond. Our keynote speaker this year is Israel Wayne. Israel and his wife Brooke are homeschool graduates who Israel says he was homeschooled by a high school dropout. His mom was. And he is now a speaker and an author, traveling the world, supporting homeschooling. My hair is, I got it, yes. Okay. And he'll be speaking, and they homeschool their 11 children. And then we'll have Capital Day. The date is to be announced, but it'll be in May of 2027. And your local homeschool support. You need to be a part of Chef of Baton Rouge. You need to be serving somewhere, whether that's volunteering to organize a park day or taking on a larger role, organizing a field trip, whatever it is. This is a group of volunteers, and it only exists with the support of its membership. So get connected if you're not. All right, I want to do a quick legislative update for you guys. we have, go ahead to the next one real quick. Okay, so you might have heard about Louisiana Gator. It is giving all true opportunity to rise. It's the educational savings account in Louisiana. It is law now. It does not apply to you. That's on purpose. That is by design. We told the state, go ahead and do what you're going to do. It is not for homeschoolers. Home education is parent-directed, parent-funded. Anytime either one of those is not happening, it's no longer home education, and that's okay. But with government shekels come government shackles, and we don't want to submit to their future regulations and rules, whatever they may be. We can't see the future, and so we just said, no thank you. They do say you can homeschool with it. That is in their advertising. You cannot notify the state as non-public. You cannot notify the state as home study and take Gator. If you would like to be a Gator student, fine, go ahead. But you're not a homeschooler, and that's okay. If you want more information about that, come and chat with me. Representative Wilder, home study sports, that one's up there as well. Your students should play for chef, honestly. However, it is legal in Louisiana now to play for your local public schools. You have to jump through some hoops, and I wouldn't recommend it because if your child is not there, there's reasons. So why would you put them on the ball field with people that, think the way that they do? You're not going to put them in biology class there, but you'll put them on the ball field. Make it make sense. Representative Wilder last year passed, so this was in 25, made TOPS more accessible to homeschool students. We used to have to score higher as home study students to get TOPS. That's no longer the case. Your student has to get the same ACT score as their public school counterparts. Also in 2025, I think it's, okay, the next one on there, Act 352, Representative, I think my numbers are wrong. It doesn't matter. Representative Amade protected churches by providing religious freedom. So, one, no longer will your church be shut down. If Walmart's open, your church can be open. We can't have our churches subjected to rules that are more strict than other businesses. Additionally, the government cannot restrict what happens in a church, what type of programming they offer. And so your co-ops are protected in churches now as well. Representative Edmonston this year in 26 expanded that co-op and microschool protection to all buildings. And so you can meet in a microschool or a co-op in a building that's not a church, and the government's not going to have the ability to come in and say you have to have the same regulations as a school, because you're not a school, you're something different. And the last one I wanted to touch on, Representative Carlson made it easier for your teenagers to get a job. It used to be you had to go to the school board or to your local school to get a work permit. And he said, actually, parents should be deciding if their children work. That should be between the parent and the employer. The school has nothing to do with it. And so he made it where when your teenager goes to their employer, the employer will just download a form from the Workforce Commission, and you'll sign saying that they can work there. Makes it much, much simpler, which is good because our students should be working. All right, we talked a little bit about being connected, and I want to go back to that. We found our people in our local homeschool group. We found our people at Teen Pact, and those organizations and those connections gave us lifelong friends. My baby graduated in 2019, and those moms that our kids grew up homeschooling with are still dear friends today. And we still get together, and a lot of our kids still hang out together. So it's really, really a beautiful thing. Looking back now, if I had to do it again, I would prioritize Christ even more than I did. I thought I was, but, as you learn more, I will be gentle with my past self because she didn't know any better. But I really had I was worried about appearances. I was worried about what other people thought far more than I was worried about what the Lord thought. And that was just foolishness. Prioritize Him. He should be at the center of your home, at the center of your marriage. I would have prioritized my marriage more. There were years, especially in the early years, where I treated my husband like he was one of the children. And that was devastating to us. If you want the long story, come ask me. I'm happy to tell you later. But had I prioritized my marriage and trusted my husband, even in the worldly things, in the finance, in the discipline, in helping choose curriculum, or even giving him whatever, he would have risen to that. But in my fear and my desperate need for control and my abject foolishness, I carried something that was far too heavy for me, stressed myself out far more than I should have. And once I actually surrendered to the Lord, surrendered to my husband, it is sweet to say, babe, what are we going to do about that? And he's like, don't worry about it. I got it. He communicates with me. I know what's going on, but I don't have to carry it anymore. Ladies, be wise. The Lord gave you that man for a reason. Ephesians 5:22 through 24. It's my new favorite verse. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. What curriculum are we going to choose? Thank you so much for handling the finances. Everything. If I had it to do over again, I would prioritize family discipleship. We read together. We wrote verses. We memorized scripture together. But because I held control of so many things in my home, and my husband, God love him, is a calm, easygoing guy, and he just let me, he didn't become the spiritual leader of our family like he is today because I was in the way. Don't do that, girls. Let him fumble. Let him. Trust the Lord to work in your husband's life, to be the leader that you've always dreamed he would be, because he is capable. He's capable at work. He's bringing home he's a smart guy. Trust him in all of those areas. Do not abdicate the responsibility of discipling your children to the youth group, to Sunday morning church, to your co-op, to your curriculum. You, mom and dad, are responsible for introducing your children to the Lord. And that's the most important thing that you'll ever do. Barna did some research on millennials that had grown up in the church and professed Christianity as they were entering adulthood. 69% of millennials who identified as Christian as teenagers are gone. They do not any longer claim Christianity. Whether they have deconstructed, whether they never believed in the first place and thought they'd, whatever it is, 69% of them are no longer professing believers. They ran the same stats, or the same questionnaire, did the same study on Christian homeschool students that are millennials. 87% of Christian homeschooled millennials are serving the Lord today. Choosing to homeschool isn't just about a better education academically. They'll get that. We have fantastic curriculums, fantastic resources, and now I was not going to be teaching anyone chemistry or algebra 2. That was not where the Lord had me. Could I have figured it out? Of course. Did I want to? Not on your life. And so when the opportunity arose for me to start working at a hybrid school and teach history that I love and am passionate about, and my friend who's the biggest math nerd on the planet and can teach algebra 16 different ways, and I still don't understand what she's talking about half the time, and she can teach my child, sign me up. I'm ready. You have so many resources at your fingertips as a homeschooler in 2026. But the most important thing that you will ever do is make sure that your children are introduced to the Lord. Can you guarantee they'll follow him? No. Homeschooling is not a formula. It's not like algebra. It's not plug in the numbers for A plus B and you're going to get it. It doesn't work like that. But when you look at the stats of the ones that were in traditional school and the ones that were at home, it is worth every late night, every crying session over some emotional thing that happened or another paper that they have to write, every bit of it, to introduce them to their Creator. Thank you.